Good morning. Good morning. I'm Rena Bacalar. I'm the Director of Economic and Community Development for the town of Trumbull. We're so excited to have all of you in the house with us today. We have a pretty big crowd, so we're going to make room. If you have a seat at your table and you see somebody wandering around, please raise a hand and help them find a seat. Happy Halloween! What a day! Yay! Look at all these great costumes. I mean, no, I'm sorry. But we are just thrilled to be here. I'm going to be your MC for the morning. We have a packed program ahead of us, and we're going to get kicking off very, very quickly. So as folks finally settle in, I'm going to invite to the podium to help us open the program Dan Onofrio, the President and CEO of the Bridgeport Regional Business Council. Dan is a phenomenal business leader in our region. He is a great partner to Trumbull, and I think I speak for all of my colleagues in other towns leading economic development. He's a great partner to all of us. We're thrilled to have him with us today. Dan, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Rena. Thank you. And again, happy Halloween. I don't have candy for you, so I apologize. But I did bring something else. I brought a magazine for you. But good morning, everyone. It's always a pleasure to see all of our partners here. And I just want to thank Rena Bacalar and the Office of Economic Development and Community Development. They're great partners to the business community. One of the best resources, I think, in the region, for sure. She always answers the phone when I call her, so we sincerely appreciate all the work that she's doing on behalf of businesses and working with us at the Business Council. And of course, I'd also like to recognize First Selectwoman Vicky Tesoro. She's done a great job here in Trumbull. Again, another great partner of ours. The whole administration's fantastic here in Trumbull. I think they both deserve a round of applause for their support of the business community. There's a number of people here. I'm sure Vicky's going to recognize them, but a lot of business doesn't happen on its own, right? It requires not just the business community, the municipality, our elected officials that I see floating around here. So I'm not going to call them all out, but I just want to acknowledge all of our elected officials that are here. We appreciate all the work that you do to keep business moving forward here in Bridgeport and throughout the region. So thank you very much. A round of applause for those folks as well. And of course, one of the reasons why we're here is to appreciate you folks, the business community. I think you folks deserve a round of applause as well because you employ people in the region. You always call the answer of duty for the town of Trumbull and the region. And you show up and you support this community, and it's important. Without you, we wouldn't have this great, thriving community here in Trumbull. So thank you very much for not only being here, but being partners of the BRVC and the Trumbull Chamber of Commerce, and all you do for the town of Trumbull. So thank you. And finally, I just want to mention, I did mention the magazine. Please take a look at it, take it with you. It is a resource for you in the business community. It's folded to the page on Trumbull, but it does acknowledge the whole region that we represent: Bridgeport, Stratford, Trumbull, Fairfield, Monroe, and East End from an economic development perspective. There's some great information on what's happening throughout the region, and it's a resource for you. And I just want to extend the invitation, not just to take the magazine as a resource for you, but leverage the BRVC and the Trumbull Chamber of Commerce where it makes sense for you. There's a lot that we do across the region. I don't expect you all to participate in all the things that we do, but we're here as a resource for you, whether it's economic development, our government relations committee, the traditional Chamber of Commerce activity with networking and events and those kind of things. So we're here for you as a resource. Don't forget us. Again, I appreciate you all being here this morning. So enjoy your breakfast. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. You have to read the Trumbull article first, okay? I'd like to, at this point, take a point of personal privilege to introduce my boss, Vicky Tesoro, she has been leading this town with such class, with such steady hand and fairness. I think I speak for any of the staff in the room in saying that we have a great boss. She's respectful. She helps us all grow and do our jobs. She's doing a phenomenal job here for the town, and she's going to keep doing a phenomenal job here for the town into the future. Thank you, Vicki, for being just one of the more decent people I've ever met in politics. And I don't know how any first selectman, it's really the first line of attack and defense, of attack really in government these days, and takes the brunt of a lot of people's emotions and feelings and opinions, and especially with social media and so forth. But you do it with such grace, class, and you rise above a lot of the ugliness, and it doesn't go unnoticed. We love you, we appreciate you, and we thank you for your leadership.
Good morning, everybody. Rena, thank you for the extremely kind words. And just 4 days before the election, that's exactly what I needed this morning. It's a tough road, and people say you have to have a thick skin to do this job. And to be honest with you, I wish I did have a thick skin, but I really don't. But I have a lot of support from my family, and obviously for the people I work with, and I think in the Trumbull community, and I thank everybody for that. So that being said, Rena, I'll just say some very kind words about Rena, because she's what makes the economic development team in our town click. She's incredible, as many of you know. The reason why we have moved forward the way we have, as to do with my administration, but really for Rena Bacalar. So let's give her a big round of applause, please. The one thing I really know how to do is to work with good people. And I've been blessed in my administration to have wonderful people that we work with in the town of Trumbull. So I thank all of them. I'll just give a shout out, I'll say it later in my speech, but to all of our town employees that are here today, and those that couldn't make it, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for how you serve the town of Trumbull. So I also want to give a shout out to Dan Onofrio and thank him for his kind words as well. This is a team effort. It's always a team effort to get anything done. And the BRBC is our partner, and we're a partner with them. And can't say enough good things about Dan and his staff as well. So with all that being said, I'm going to move to my comments now. I promise not to be too long, but you know how politicians always make promises. So it's great, as I said, to see all of you here. People that have been here for many years have come to this breakfast, and anyone who is just joining us this year, thank you very much. And I also want to thank, and I think that Senator Blumenthal is going to make a stop here, we think. I'll thank him again if he comes, and even if he doesn't come, I thank him for wanting to be here this morning with us. I also want to say thank you to State Senator Sujata Gai-Carr-Wilcox, State Representative Sarah Kitt, State Representative Dave Retigliano for being here this morning. And I also want to recognize former First Selectman of Trumbull, Paul Timpanelli and Raymond Baldwin. I think the Chief of Police, Mike Lombardo, is here. Are you here, Mike? Maybe he's not here yet. Okay. A couple more. Superintendent of Schools, Martin Semmel, Lucinda Timpanelli, Chairman of the Board of Education, Laney McHugh, Chairman of the Board of Finance, and Fred Garrity, Chairman of Trumbull Planning and Zoning Commission, are all here with us this morning. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. Next on my list, and I'm not sure I see him either, are Barnum Festival 2026 Ringmaster, Bridgeport's own and the town of Trumbull's Director of Human Resources and Labor Relations, Tom McCarthy, is here. Are you here, Tom? Not here? I don't know. He's in big trouble. Okay, and thank you to all the rest of our elected officials that are here as well, and our board and commission members. Your dedication to our great community makes our town even better. I also want to thank our police, EMS, volunteer fire departments for their selfless dedication to keeping our residents and businesses safe. Trumbull remains a safe community in which to live and do business because of everything you do. So let's give them a big round of applause, please. So a special thanks again to Rena, our Economic and Community Development Director, and Gia Mantillo, our Economic and Community Development Administrator, and our Economic and Community Development Commission, chaired by Beryl Kaufman, for working so hard to make Trumbull a welcoming one for businesses. And thank you for your efforts in making this breakfast a big success as well. So I can't think, as I said before, of a better team for Trumbull. So we welcome today's keynote speaker, John Trainer. Hi, John.
Hi.
Of Cambridge Trust Wealth Management, Connecticut. We're so pleased to have you in Trumbull and looking forward to your comments today.
Thank you.
Again, thank you to all of our businesses for being here. You are essential partners with our town, and your investment and confidence in Trumbull strengthens our entire community. So I'm just going to go into a few comments that I have now about the town of Trumbull. So as I complete my 8th year as First Selectman, I'm proud of the progress we have made. Our schools continue to be outstanding, currently ranked 6th in the state of Connecticut. And just this week, it was announced that Daniels Farm Elementary School was named the 6th best public elementary school in Connecticut by U.S. News and World Report. All our schools are excellent. Our park system and recreation facilities are second to none. Our neighborhoods and business districts are safe and thriving. Trumbull continues to be a community of choice, receiving these noteworthy distinctions for its schools, quality of life, and business relocation appeal. The town continues to see some of the highest move-in rates in Connecticut. The housing market in Trumbull is not experiencing a slowdown in market value. The median home sales price in June 2025 was up 8.4% over last year. Last year, I reported to you that Realtor.com named Trumbull the 16th hottest zip code in the nation for people looking to purchase a home. That designation is based on market demand data, including the number of unique viewers seeking property and the days property remains on the market. In even better news, Realtor.com recently updated this information for this year, and Trumbull is now the 7th hottest town in the nation for people looking to purchase a home. When you have a balanced community that offers a solid value and high quality, like life in Trumbull, this is no surprise. We also have many infrastructure improvements ongoing throughout the town that provide both pedestrian and vehicular safety. These include new sidewalks, crosswalks, safety signage, and traffic signals. Other upgrades include sewer and culvert repairs, improvements to our schools and town properties, and more. Many of these projects are grant-funded, providing tax relief to our residents and businesses. The traffic light, crosswalks, road signage, and sidewalks and trail improvements at the Fitness Edge Plaza were completed a couple years ago. Infrastructure work continues in the Long Hill Green area, initiated by the 2018 Long Hill Green Planning Study. The traffic light at Main Street and Whitney Avenue was installed last December, and additional sidewalks have been added in this area. Also, the Long Hill Green itself has been redesigned and landscaped for the enjoyment of residents and to attract customers for our businesses. If you've traveled on Main Street in the last few weeks, you may have seen new sidewalks being installed in front of the new PHA medical building near the Echo Plaza. A new grant has been awarded to the town in the amount of $852,000, which will allow us to construct the sidewalk trail connection from Dunellen Road down Whitney Avenue to the Pequannock River Trail. Not only is this an important safety improvement, but it also connects our commercial center with the trail system, which will benefit businesses, residents, and area visitors to that section of our town. This project will be completed next summer to avoid congestion in that area from school traffic. Our town's strong financial position makes all this possible. Strong finances are a hallmark of a healthy community. Independent third-party rating agencies, S&P Global and Fitch, have been consistent in their praise of my administration for our stable and conservative approach to town finances. We recently completed another round of credit rating meetings, and even though we are in a difficult economic period, we have maintained our AA+ bond rating. For our business community and for our citizens alike, it is imperative that we not only keep spending in check, but that we have strategically invest in those things that matter to our community and act as a catalyst for growth. Besides our great schools, quality of life, our businesses and corporate footprint are other reasons why Trumbull is a thriving and desirable community. We continue to experience strong development and business location interest. As a town that is 98% developed, most of the development activity occurring is redevelopment or infill development. At the same time, the town has greatly decreased its office vacancy rate since 2017 from 44% to 13% due to redevelopment and reoccupation of underperforming properties. In November of 2017, as I was entering office, I knew we had many challenges to confront to turn our business environment around in Trumbull. We had lost several major corporations in Trumbull from 2013 to 2016. Among those losses were United Healthcare, Affineon, Canon, Pilot Pen, and others. Those losses left large buildings vacant and underperforming, which left a significant impact on our business community. We have come a long way, as you will hear today. In our Trumbull Corporate Park, we had over 400,000 square feet of vacant space. We have under 100,000 square feet of space remaining to reoccupy. In the Lindeman, Oakview, and Cambridge Drive area, we had 60% of those properties vacant in 2017. I am proud to say today that we have turned this around with only minor vacancies in that area. We attracted almost $180 million in new investment in this area. A mixed-use neighborhood was created. This brought in 12 new businesses to this part of town. And Connecticut Educational Services, otherwise known as CES, last year expanded its footprint to 40 Oakview Drive, opening the Oakview School, servicing 150 students from 40 of our surrounding towns. Last year, there were 452 new business registrations in Trumbull. In comparison, in 2017, new business registrations were under 300 annually. We have a diverse base of almost 4,000 businesses, from major corporations like Lockheed Martin, Sikorsky, Cooper Surgical, Henkel, Amazon, Transpac, Yale New Haven Health, and others, to small, locally owned, operated businesses in our village districts and commercial areas. Our business community continues to grow every year, and thank you to all of you. So I'm going to just name a few of our new businesses that opened up this last year. They include Antonio's Italian Kitchen, Zumi Japanese, Ruby Thai Kitchen, Tea Swirl, Ross Dress for Less, RUHE Fertility and Prenatal, Intrinsic Wellness, Take Park Theater Company, Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, Brian Kelly Carpentry, The Do Collective, We Do Life Together, Live Free, I gotta take a breath, sorry. CupTech will be moving from Stratford to the Trumbull Corporate Park. They will be purchasing the long vacant 110,000 square foot 75 Merritt Boulevard property, a building that has been largely vacant since 2014. They will bring additional high-wage jobs and help grow Trumbull's innovation ecosystem. So we thank all those businesses, and we didn't name all of them because I'd be here for a long time, but thank you to all those businesses who've come to Trumbull to be in our community. We appreciate your business here for sure. And the following business expansions are underway or planned. Orthodontic Boutique in Trumbull Center, as I said, Pediatric Healthcare Associates in the Long Hill Green area, and this hotel, the Trumbull Marriott, will undergo a total renovation in 2026. That renovation will be phased in and the hotel will remain open during this time. Let's give this hotel a big round of applause. And we will be announcing soon a major corporate expansion. Unfortunately, I can't comment at this point with more specifics. And we have several ongoing projects as well. We have completed the Trumbull Mall area market feasibility and land use study, which has identified an additional 1 million square feet of commercial development on the site and $10 million in new tax revenue over time. As I discussed last year, that vision has been shared with the community. It is to convert the area from a mall to a vibrant neighborhood district. On March 1st of this year, the mall owner defaulted on the debt associated with the portion of the mall that they own. The mall property is in receivership, and Centennial has taken over day-to-day management, including leasing of the mall. The Trumbull Planning and Zoning Commission approved revised zoning regulations in August to lay the groundwork for investment. Although this is a private property, we continue to work with a management company to make needed updates at the mall, including additional security. We see this transformation of the mall area, the entire mall area, as a very real opportunity for the town of Trumbull. As we all know, Trumbull Center needs redevelopment. The buildings to the front of the center, as you probably have seen, were finally torn down. You also probably have noticed that a section of the property has been re-landscaped and a pocket park was created at the front of the center. Other infrastructure work has been completed as well. We are encouraged by these developments, and we view these as important first steps. Even though Trumbull Center is also private property, the town continues to work with the landlord to improve and revitalize the center. The commercial development at 1 Trefoil has been approved. The development will replace an old commercial building that is underperforming and obsolete. I'm excited to say that the Trumbull Planning and Zoning Commission has approved, are you ready, all you Trumbull people? A grocery store for this site. I won't make any more comments about that. The Nathaniel Hawley property on Daniels Farm Road was completed under our adapted reuse regulation. The new gas station convenience store on Main Street and Lake Avenue has been approved. The demolition of the former auto repair structure has been completed. Additional environmental testing has also been completed. Construction will begin soon as well. Trumbull's Community Gardens and Abraham Nichols Park has been completely redesigned and expanded. Don't know if you all know where that is, but it's worth a visit. We actually have an apple orchard in our town that people probably don't know about, and where that apple orchard is, behind the barn that's been renovated in that park, there is a beautiful community gardens, which has been expanded and redesigned. This was funded through the State of Connecticut American Rescue Plan Act. The expanded area includes raised beds, is fenced, and is friendly for seniors and individuals with disabilities. The grant funded all necessary materials and labor related to the installation of these gardens. This same grant will also establish a new community garden at our senior center on Priscilla Place. We are grateful to State Representative Sarah Kent, who spearheaded the funding for Trumbull. And I also will give a shout out to Dimitri Paris, our park superintendent, for his work in completing this redesign and expansion. It really is a place to see if you want to take a walk someday in that area of town. It's beautiful there anyways. Check out these community gardens because it really has been expanded, and it will give our seniors and people who are disabled an opportunity to engage in that activity, which is just so important. A 2,584 square foot, one-story professional office building is under construction for law offices on White Plains Road, which will be occupied by attorney Anthony Manelli. A 124-unit senior housing project at 12 Cambridge Drive with a 10% designated as affordable was approved by the Trumbull Planning and Zoning Commission in June of this year. Something this town really needs is senior housing and many different options of senior housing. So I'm very excited that this project was approved. 6 Cambridge Drive is under contract for purchase, which should close by the end of the year. This is the long abandoned property located at the corner of Cambridge and Oakview Drive that is approved for a 110,000 square foot storage facility. This new development will greatly improve that corner of Cambridge Drive. I'm also very excited to announce that St. Joseph's property on Main Street is under contract for purchase by a reputable quality senior serving company. I am not at liberty to say more at this time, except this will be a major investment and upgrade to what is currently there. Yeah, this is great news for the town of Trumbull. It is great news because, people were concerned with that property, obviously, when that went into foreclosure. But this not only is it's going to upgrade that area, it's also going to bring significant benefit to our grand list. Cognovum, the new operator for the data center at 80 Merritt Boulevard, formerly owned by Digital, they will invest $200 million in construction and technology upgrades over the next 5 years. The investment will add jobs and significantly increase the value of the property, which is very possible, again, for Trumbull's grand list, and we thank them for investing in Trumbull. We are actively working with the developers of Gateway Commons and 48 Monroe Turnpike to resource and cost engineer these projects so they can be under redevelopment. We also are continuing working to fully fund the new Trumbull Veterans and First Responders Center. With the assistance of our state senator, Sujata Gadkar-Wilcox, our state legislative delegation, including State Representative Sarah Kitt and Dave Ritigliano, and with Rena Bacalar, we believe the additional funding will be secured shortly, allowing construction to continue next spring. Yes, we'll keep our fingers crossed. So I'd like to give another shout out to former First Selectman Raymond Baldwin, who is the chairman of the building committee for this great project. As we know, Tuesday, November 11th is Veterans Day. I'd ask any veterans in our audience to stand up and be recognized. Thank you all for your service. Trumbull's economic success is a collective success. Everyone here today is part of that success, and we appreciate all of your investment in Trumbull. I want to recognize Rena one more time, because I can't recognize her enough, for all that she has done to where people in Trumbull want to live, work, and play, and businesses want to do business. So let's give her one more round of applause. Thank you again to everyone for being so enthusiastic about Trumbull and for your business and your investment here. I look forward to more great things ahead and working with all of you. Thanks again.
Not too many people can say they love their boss, but I can say that. She's a great woman, and I'll say it again. Another round of applause. I'm just going to take a moment before introducing our keynote to talk about some things that our first selectman pointed out. We're working on multiple fronts: economic development, community development, grants, housing diversity. We're working on major corporate in-movement to our community. When Vicki talked about a mass exodus of corporations from 2013 to 2016, she wasn't kidding. Left hundreds of thousands of square foot of vacant office space. Regular folk traveling the community may not see it because this community was developed in nodes. We don't have large, massive corridors of business development. There's sections, border development, nodes of development. Harder to see what's happening, harder to understand when things go wrong or when things go right. So we have to do, I think, a better job of communicating in a very difficult environment in which to get messages out. But what has transformed in this corporate community and the corporations we have brought here deserves attention and deserves understanding. So I hope you'll help be ambassadors for our business community even more so after today and tell the story about what's happening. Do we have more to do? We absolutely do. I see the mall area as the greatest economic development opportunity in this region, and anyone who thinks nothing's going to happen there is clueless, okay? The amount of interest that we are hearing from people. Yes, do we have challenges? The disposition of the property has to play out, okay? Other things have to come to place, but we're not sitting idle. We are meeting day in, day out, week in, week out, lining up opportunity and positioning that area. And I just want to thank the Planning and Zoning Commission again. I don't know if Fred Garrity is still here. And you know, Fred and I can be like oil and water, but truly we both care and we do love each other at the end of the day. But if it were not for his leadership in helping us with this really important property and other things, you know, the community would be at a loss. So we appreciate his support. So let's give Fred a round of applause. That's not an easy job, but it's been really pleasant. So I just want to say, it is multiple challenges that we have, but the accomplishments and the opportunities are much more significant. And anyone betting against this team is going to lose, okay? So I am so excited to be on this team and to tackle some of these great opportunities with all of you going forward. And thank you sincerely for the support you've shown me while I've been here and you've shown this community. It makes a huge difference and we appreciate you deeply. So with that, John, we are so thrilled to have you here to talk with us about what's happening in the economy. I think people do have a lot of questions. I'm not going to read John's full bio. It is in your package. He's an impressive gentleman. I remember meeting him through People's Bank when I was a younger professional. I don't know, John, maybe not that much younger. I thought I was much younger than you, but maybe not. I don't know. But when I was a younger professional thinking, wow, this guy is such a brilliant communicator, taking complicated information and really communicating it out to the region. And you're still doing it, and we're really pleased to have you here to shed some light on where we are and where we're going. So come on up and thank you.
Well, good morning. I believe you all have copies of the slides, so you don't have to squint at the screen. I will tell you, listening to that presentation about Trumbull, I'm exhausted and I haven't even done anything. So, hey, congratulations. And I will say, you know, there are so many familiar faces in the room, and what I love about catching up with a lot of you is that, you know, yes, we've had lots of business conversations, but so many of the fond memories are about all the volunteering, all the different organizations that everybody here is involved with, whether you're coaching Little League or you're running a program for, you know, for little kids. So what makes Trumbull great are the people in this room. I know there are a lot of great resources, but it's the people in this room and the way everybody gives back. So it's great to see everybody again. I'm going to go through these slides fairly quickly. What I always love is the Q&A. If you've been to any of the presentations that I've made over the last year, I've used these first 3 slides in every presentation because the story hasn't changed. So let me go over it. We believe, you know, this is the year of the tiger, that President Trump and the tariffs are going to have had a big impact, probably a big impact on the economy, probably a big impact on your business. And we're concerned about inflation. If you listen to Chairman Powell's comments just a few days ago, he's concerned about inflation. Economic growth, the economy is doing much better than we thought just a little while ago. Corporate earnings, so far, 306 companies in the S&P 500 have reported earnings already. Revenue's up 9%, earnings up 12.6%. The economy is doing pretty well, businesses are doing pretty well. And then what are we thinking about a recession? The big relationship, again, I've had this slide since January in my presentations. The big relationship that we are most concerned about is the relationship between these two fellows, President Trump and Chairman Powell, primarily because of this slide. And if you've got a brother-in-law that thinks he's a know-it-all at Thanksgiving, put slide this across the table and explain this to me. This is, if there's one slide in my presentation I want you to remember, it's this one, because I think this unlocks what Chairman Powell is concerned about and what President Trump is concerned about. We call this the rule of 4%. Let me just go over this. What you've got down here, the blue line is wage growth. We get down to 2% during a recession. As the economy gets better, we get up to 4%. The Fed gets nervous, wages are getting out of control, slam on the brakes. This line up here, the orange line, unemployment. The economy starts doing better, unemployment starts coming down, gets close to 4%, slam on the brakes. Take a look at where we are right now. Wages are growing just about 4%, unemployment 4.3%. Hopefully someday we'll get a new report on unemployment. We've cut rates 100 basis points last year, 50 basis points this year. This is normally when the Fed has both feet on the brakes. What President Trump and Chairman Powell are trying to do, and neither one of them has stated this explicitly, but we believe what they're hoping to do is to essentially redline the economy. We're going to keep, every president, President Trump, President Biden, President Obama, would love to see wages growing at 4%. We'd all love to see that. We'd all love to see it done without inflation. We'd love to see unemployment stay low. If you look at that chart, what the president and what Chairman Powell are trying to do has never been done before. Normally, something breaks, the economy slows, we have something, we get a shock, and those lines diverge. So what you saw on Wednesday with Chairman Powell is that he cut rates by 25 basis points. What did the bond market do? Rates went up. The 10-year Treasury went up. It's supposed to go down. What that's telling you is that a lot of people are saying, wow, Chairman Powell's a little bit nervous about, cutting rates anymore, that people are starting to wake up that redlining the economy might not work. So if there's one page that I guarantee you, if I'm presenting 6 months from now, I'm going to have an updated chart here, because I think this tells the story about what we're concerned about with the economy. This is a great chart, goes back to 1900. Shows you where tariffs were years and years ago. They've come down. Remember, here's World War II. We said, you know what? These tariffs are causing a lot of problems. Let's bring them down. And through subsequent treaties, we brought them down pretty low. President Trump has taken them back up. This is a dramatic change. As an economist, this concerns me. Raising tariffs, you're raising the costs, you're distorting business. So we'll see what happens here, but this is a dramatic change in the entire post-World War II period. So President Trump and the tariffs are changing the situation that we're all dealing with as business people, and that's a concern. This gives you a sense, tariffs are bringing in revenues. Tariffs, I know the president doesn't like to say this, but the tariffs are basically a sales tax. We're all paying that when we go to the store. So far, what we've seen is that businesses are absorbing some of the tariffs. Suppliers, if you're producing in Vietnam or China and you're shipping to the US, you're absorbing some of that, and we're seeing it in higher prices. So it's not all the consumer that's paying it. We're seeing some of the businesses taking it. Some of you may be absorbing some of the tariff increases, but we're seeing higher revenues on the tax side, some lower corporate revenues. This is an interesting chart. We've got the government shutdown right now. I know I'm anticipating some questions about the government shutdown. Well, You know, one of the things that's changed, we had a lot of one-day shutdowns years ago. They've gotten longer, a little more contentious in Congress, but that's the S&P 500. The market has done fairly well when we have shutdowns. Basically, they get shaken off. We'll see what happens this time, but we're not anticipating a big change. So now, inflation. This is where we've been. We pay more attention to the headline, the red line. We pay more attention to that darker line, the core inflation. But if you see, we had the huge spike. You all remember that back in 2022. Headline got up a little over 9%. We're down. The Fed's target is 2%. We're actually going up a little bit here. You know, we're having a hard time getting it down below 3%. If the Fed cuts interest rates, that gets the economy going. So what the Chairman Powell is worried about is if he cuts rates, as President Trump wants, he could exacerbate that problem. So he's really in a very, very tough spot. But again, that chart that I showed you earlier, I think part of it is explained by this, why it's such a problem. This is the detail behind inflation. You know, the number is good, but it's always good to look behind it. You'll see the green, that's energy prices. So energy was really adding to inflation. It's actually pulling it down. A concern that we have, though, let's take a look here. We're starting to head up. It's goods inflation, the stuff that we're buying at Stop and Shop. That's what we're seeing. That's what consumers are seeing. You know, we're seeing shelter costs come down. There are a lot of good trends there. The one negative is the price of the stuff that we buy at the store. The economy's doing well. Economic growth, our little blue line there, we're back above trend. If you take a look, this orange section here, this is all of us. The consumer represents about 70% of the economy. That's all of us in the room. If you look at this chart, that red line, the red dotted line that you see there, that's consumer sentiment. It's all of us. Consumers are saying, boy, I've got a job, I'm getting raises, but I'm depressed. That blue line is retail sales. Even though we might not be, we're telling the pollsters that we're not happy, we're still spending money. You know, throughout my entire career, you know, I always look at consumer sentiment. Consumer sentiment is from the University of Michigan, much more closely tied to our concerns about inflation. Consumer confidence, much more closely tied to our views about employment. So there are two consumer surveys out there, a little difference of what they measure. So this is primarily focused on inflation. We're not happy, we're nervous, but we're still spending money. So I haven't used this as a great economic indicator. It generally doesn't give a sense of where the sales are going at that moment, but it does give me a sense of what people are worried about. And right now, this is telling me people are worried about inflation. You've heard about the K economy, that wealthy people are doing well, middle-class people are doing poorly. Well, we just looked at consumer sentiment. What this chart does is it takes the numbers we just looked at, but it breaks it down by income. So if you're making more than $100,000, you're pretty happy. You're that line at the top there. If you're between $50,000 and $100,000, you're not so happy. And if you're below 50, you're never happy. So this is, if you're reading the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, people talking about that K economy, we're seeing a real bifurcation in consumer sales. So, you know, again, if you're a retailer, you've got to sit back and say, okay, who are my customers? Walmart, the number one employer in the country, number one. They take a look at their sales and they divide their customers north of 100,000 in income, below that. All of their increases in sales, their comp store sales, are coming from the people above $100,000. That's Walmart. So it's a pretty good indication of what's going on in the country. Down at the very bottom there, the top 10%, and hopefully everybody here is in that top 10%, now represent 50% of the retail sales. So you'll see these other brackets are all shrinking, but this group down here now accounts for 50%. So we're seeing, even though the economy is doing well, remember that chart that I showed you, economic growth? What we're concerned about is that there's a narrowing going on right now, that growth is not coming from a broad swath of the economy. Corporate earnings. Think about where we were in April. We had a Liberation Day tariffs, scared the heck out of everybody, that the market was down dramatically. We were down almost 20%. I just said, corporate earnings are pretty good, and we're forecasting, double-digit earnings for the next couple of years. So even though consumer sentiment is down, businesses are under pressure, we still think the economy will keep chugging along. Where if you think about economic growth, and again, hopefully someday we'll get GDP reports. First quarter, the GDP declined by 0.6%. In the second quarter, we grew 3.8%. One of the things we look at, which I would recommend you all look at to get a better sense of the economy, is real final demand by domestic purchasers. That's usually like the third or fourth paragraph when you get the GDP report. First quarter, again, headline was negative 0.6. Real economic growth was 1.4%. Second quarter, we were up 3.8%. Real economic growth was 2.4. So the first half of this year, we've been growing at an average of 1.9%. Hopefully, we'll get a good print for GDP in the third quarter. The shutdown, the government shutdown, I think is going to have an impact on the fourth quarter, where we are right now. I think it's going to slow things down, so we think we'll be right around 1% for the quarter we're in right now. We could be 2.5%, 3% for the third quarter, so we'll see where that ends up. This is what Wall Street thinks that the Fed is going to be doing, cutting rates. I laid out a scenario, and we're working with our bond team right now. I laid out a scenario for you where Fed keeps cutting rates, we're going to see pressure on inflation. We don't believe we're going to see the cuts that Wall Street is looking for. All right, so if you're in the real estate market and you're hoping, we're going to see rates down dramatically, we're saying we think we'll see a couple more cuts, but we're not as enthusiastic as the rest of Wall Street. So therefore, recession, this is for me, and the first time in my career, normally we go through these cycles. What we think we've done is we've backed up, and we're actually in a better place than we were at the end of 2024. We think the economy is actually mid-cycle. So we're hoping that we see a nice elongated cycle in the market. I wanted to talk just a little bit about the stock market. If Mike Rispoli, who works with me, one of our clients, very, very nervous and said, I think we're going to see the market down 10%. So, well, of course, that always happens. This is what the market does for the entire year, but during the year, we always had some pretty, aggressive declines. We were down, it says 19%. If you go peak to trough, in April, we were actually down about 21%. On an annual basis, we're going to get declines. So if you're, a lot of you run businesses, a lot of you are managing 401ks for your employees. One of the things that we try and do is tell people, maybe go into those target date funds, get into something that's a little smoother. What you don't want to do is have people get spooked, because we're going to see declines. I guarantee you we'll see another 10% decline fairly soon. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and at the end of this presentation, we'll get a little personal, because I think it's a concern that everybody has, is AI. If you think back to the history of this country, think back to where we were. Early people came to settle Trumbull. It was horsepower. Then, boy, oh boy, we've got steam. Then we moved to electricity. Each time we did that, what we were doing was we were making you stronger. We were replacing brawn with technology. All right, so, in factories, we've been adding robots. The technology revolution has been to replace and enhance muscle power. Okay? What you're seeing with AI is this is the first time that we're expanding productivity by replacing brain power. So for the first time, a lot of people that, you know what, I'm a banker. You know, I sit in a nice air-conditioned office and I work on my computer, all right? There's no robotic tool that's going to replace what I do. AI could replace what I do. So there's a lot of, you know, for a lot of people in this room probably, this is the first time when technology hasn't been a good thing. We're all sitting there going, oh, hey, wait a minute, this is now going to impact me. This is what we're anticipating. If we take a look at the companies that we're invested in, and we own a lot of them, and you know, yes, valuations are crazy, and we're probably looking at a bubble. But remember, the dot-com bubble was a bubble on Wall Street. The technology was real. The internet was real. All right, the technology was real. Sometimes Wall Street gets a little crazy, so we're probably seeing a little bit of craziness on Wall Street, but that doesn't mean that AI isn't serious. So we're anticipating a pretty good ramp. If you take a look here, this is what's going on with all the different business sectors. So no matter what business sector you're seeing big investments. Where you're not going to see it is in sort of the personal communications area. You know, I mean, if you're going out to a restaurant, you're not going to see AI taking your order. All right, if you're going to the doctor's office, you're not going to see AI sitting down, a computer sitting down. You're still going to have the doctor and the nurse. So those high personal contact industries are probably going to be okay. But take a look at, you know, information, finance. Uh-oh, that's me. Yikes, I'm at the top there. So you're going to see AI again. For the last 300 years, technology has been replacing brawn. AI, hopefully, is going to enhance the brain power. That's what we'd like to see. Just want to make a couple of comments. A lot of you are probably thinking about international investing. When you're investing internationally, there are three things that I look at, three things that I need to take a look at. You know, what are the underlying fundamentals? What's the valuation? And what's the dollar going to be doing? If you take a look at fundamentals, the valuations, international stocks are cheap. Now, they should be cheap because the U.S. is doing much better, but they're still cheaper than they should be. The dollar, take a look at the dollar. These charts go way back. The dollar goes through normal cycles. Take a look at where we are now. We're still pretty high. Our thinking is that the dollar could be in one of those cycles where it starts to come down. If you take a look at this chart, this is when the purple line is above, international stocks outperform the S&P 500. Below, the S&P 500 does well. Take a look. The last 15 years, as investors, we've been underweight international stocks. Had more in the U.S., less internationally. That really worked out well. We believe if we're seeing this change in the dollar, and the European countries are actually starting to do well, we could see a change. So we have been underweight the last 15 years. We're now neutral. You know, and that for us, that's 80-20, 80% US, 20% international. We were 85-15. This is just a great quilt chart that basically says, don't try and guess the market. Here's that balanced portfolio sort of in the middle. Take a look at what does well and what does poorly. Very, very difficult. I mean, this is my business, and I would never even try and do this. So here's where we get a little personal. And I'm going to keep us on. I'm going to make sure I stop right at 9:30 so we can have Q&A. Take a look at Connecticut. You know, it's very easy to beat up Connecticut. I'm on the board of the Fairfield Historic Society. We had a fellow come in, and he talked about the history of Connecticut from the 1600s to today. And I never realized it, but Connecticut, throughout its entire history, has been a great exporter of people. Our population's grown, but it hasn't grown. Calm down. I'm going to blame the people of Trumbull. If you go, how many people have been to Ohio? Driven through, been there? You probably all know that Northern Ohio was once part of Connecticut. And if you go out to Ohio there is a Trumbull County. It was founded in 1800, not the town of Trumbull, there is a Trumbull County. If you go to Youngstown, Ohio, the county north of Youngstown is Trumbull. Founded by brave people from the town of Trumbull in the year 1800. They said, okay, fought the Revolution. I'd love to have a farm. There's not a lot of land left in Connecticut. I'm going to go out there. So we have been exporting very, very ambitious people all over the country. So, you know, it's great, but what we need to do is figure out how do we hold on to them. So take a look at this. You're probably all familiar with this. This is a national stat, right? Job openings and the total unemployed. And remember during the pandemic or during COVID, there were 2 open jobs for every person that was unemployed. It was fantastic. You had people switching jobs. They were trading around, probably some of your employees, maybe some of you in this room. Well, we're now back neutral. Job openings and the number of people unemployed are basically 0, but historically, that's been 0.6. So for every 10 people that are unemployed, there were 6 openings. And take a look at the longer term trend. So even now, we're in pretty good shape on a national basis. This gives you a little bit better hint. All right, you've got the quits. Fewer people are quitting. We're saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to hold on to my job. All right, I'm getting a little bit nervous. All right, layoffs are actually increasing a little bit. All right, so we're getting a little bit more conservative. One concern that we've got, and maybe this is AI, here's the unemployment rate, might be some of your kids for 22 to 27-year-olds, male and female. Remember I said the unemployment rate, the latest stat that we have nationally is 4.3%. This little line here, that's males, they're above 6%. And these are college graduates, recent college graduates, 22 to 27. So we're seeing AI impact our employment situation. You know, years ago, you know, you get out of college, you think you're really smart, but what do? You're probably working in a business, you're doing, you know, gathering data, you're putting together spreadsheets, you're doing lots of, you know, fairly basic tasks. A lot of businesses are saying, you know what, we can use AI to do a lot of that work. There are a lot of high-end jobs. Remember 5 years ago, it was everybody's got to learn how to code. You know, that's it, that's the future. Well, Microsoft is laying off coders. They've laid off 30% of their coders because that's pretty basic. My wife and I were taking a trip to Greece this spring, and we would go around and, you know, you'd be on the tour bus with a whole bunch of people from town. So I'm sitting there, and the guy in front of me, he's on his laptop the whole time. So I said, okay, great. You know, he's checking emails, he's checking in with the office. He turns around a day later and says, hey, look what I just did. He used AI to just sit there, and he's a finance guy. He doesn't know coding. He said he went on, used AI, and wrote an entire app for his clients. You know, he's sitting there saying, I just said, give me the coding to do this, coding to do that. It was all done. While he's sitting there on the bus using Wi-Fi, he created an entire app. He was sitting there coding. He said, I don't know anything about coding, but I used it. So I thought, wow, this is going to have a big impact, but it's probably going to have a big impact on our kids. So, you know, understanding what's going on there as businesses. I had an intern this summer. You know, we need to keep making sure that we train our people. This is a great chart. You've got the S&P 500, the dark line, total job openings, the orange line. Take a look at that. Now, correlation is not causation, but I just thought, boy, this is pretty interesting. That, you know, the market's doing well, companies are investing, the S&P 500 keeps cruising, all right? But, you know, we're seeing job openings drop. Is there a connection? I don't know, but boy, that sure looks suspicious to me. ChatGPT came out, so pay attention. So let's get back to Connecticut. Let's get back to Trumbull. If I'm a smart scientist in Germany, or I'm a great, you know, researcher, or I'm doing something and I've got a great idea and I'm a young person in Africa or Asia, wherever you are, and I realized, boy, to produce this, I need really productive people. This is a chart that shows the productivity of workers in countries all over the world. Here's India, here's China. Number one is the United States. If you're a business and you need smart people, you need productive people, the place you come is the United States. If you come to the United States and you say, okay, I've now made the decision I'm coming here, where do you go? The 5th most productive state in the entire country is Connecticut. Our natural resource, as you heard this morning from Vicki talking about the schools in Trumbull, our natural resource is not oil, not natural gas. We're not fracking in Connecticut. Our natural resource are all of us, all of our kids. We've got really good, productive people. The United States is number one. We're the 5th best in the entire country. So there's a great story here, but it really depends upon continuing to grow that natural resource. You know, you've got to continue educating our kids. So if there's a reason, you know, again, I started off saying it's easy to beat up Connecticut. If there's a reason why we're all in this room, one of the reasons is we've got the best workers in the world right here in Connecticut. So it's key that the businesses of the future, we talked about AI, that's going to have a big impact on business. If you see that, if you've got a business and you see that as a threat, that's the wrong way to think about it. AI, you've got to think about it as just like the farmers that went from horses to steam to tractors. You've got to look at it as a tool. If you've got a factory, I had 5 guys making this car, now I've got robots. It's a tool. AI is a tool, and our resource is brain power. That's what we need to focus on. So I'm gonna stop there. And the favorite part of my presentations is the Q&A. So I know there are a couple of people that have already told me they're going to sandbag me. Oh, there we go. So.
Thinking about demographics, we know, you guys can't hear me? Hi. So thinking about demographics, we know that industrialized countries their fertility rates are coming down. How does that impact, like, the U.S.'s long-term productivity rate or anything else? There's some.
You all heard that, demographics, and that's key. And I had a whole demographics section that I pulled out of it before you hit the nail on the head. We're not making a lot of kids, all right? You know, my parents had 5 kids. My mom's got 16 grandchildren and 7 great-grandchildren. My wife and I had 4 kids. Only one's married, and I've got 2 granddaughters. So my parents did a great job in you know, building future workers. My wife and I, not so much. So I don't know what's going on there. But demographically, and this is a big, we could have a whole conversation about immigration. And I know, you know, I love to go between Fox and MSNBC. It annoys the heck out of my wife. But I'd love to do that, go back and forth. So we can have a great debate. But all I will say is the Census Bureau put together a chart. You can Google this or send me a note and I'll send it to you, where if you take a look at the United States, Connecticut is part of this, and you take a look at the growth of our labor force, right? Demographically, we're not making enough. I think our fertility rate right now is 1.6. I think Italy's actually below 1%. You need 2.1 kids per family just to maintain the population. So we're just below that. If you take a look at it, the Census Bureau said in the beginning of 2024, that by the year 2038, 100% of the growth of our labor force will be immigrants. That will have, all the baby boomers are retiring and there won't be enough kids coming in. Every 6 months they revise that survey. They just came out last month and said it's not 2038 when we hit that tipping point. It's now 2033.
Wow.
In 2 years, it's moved in 5. Part of that is because, again, we can have a great debate, don't shoot the messenger, but we need smart people from around the world. And fortunately, I'm second generation. All four of my grandparents were born in Ireland. So, I'm the beneficiary of people that wanted to build a new life for themselves to come here. Come here legally, yes, we want everybody to be part of it. Good, I'm glad. Sometimes I say that and I get a couple of rocks thrown at me. We, as a country, from a demographic standpoint, thank God, we are still a magnet for smart people, ambitious people, whatever, to come to this country, because we can't have that economic growth. Right? Economic growth is your population and productivity. Right? So hopefully AI will help grow productivity, but we also need the people. So your future employees, think about this now. I just told you, all of the growth in our labor force from 2033 on will be immigrants. So you all need to be thinking about your workforce 5 years out. How are you bringing people in that might have come from a different country? I mean, it's something that we think about as bankers. We're sitting there saying, one of the things I get rated on is, am I bringing in a very diverse, a great group of future portfolio managers and bankers? So it's a big issue. Well, that's a great question. But we can have a whole conversation about that. So, yes. And just speak up for the group.
I have two questions. One, who pays the tariffs? And does that not make it a sales tax? And the other is, do you think that the continuing growth in consumer spending that we're seeing right now is because people are spending now anticipating tariffs hitting them later?
Got into trouble when I said this, but I have characterized the tariffs that we have right now as a national sales tax on imports. That's the way you have to look at it. Technically, we should all be paying it. As I said, businesses and exporters are eating some of it, but a tariff is a tax, and we're paying it. So the consumer spending. Remember I said GDP was negative in the first quarter if you look at the headline, but it was actually positive 1.4. And then in the next quarter, well, that's because imports subtract from GDP. So what all the companies did was they said, holy cow, let's get out ahead of this. And they imported a whole bunch of stuff before the tariffs hit. Then we saw the reverse in the next quarter. That's why when the GDP number finally does come out, don't pay attention to the headline. What you want to look at are net imports and inventory builds. Take those out to see what's really happening. But I think one of the disturbing things that we're seeing, remember there was a moratorium on student loan payback during COVID? Well, that has restarted. So one of the things we're concerned about is you're starting to see credit card delinquencies rise. Well, guess what? Now all of a sudden, a lot of people have to pay for credit, pay their student loans. Well, maybe they don't pay the credit card on time. So we're concerned about that. But that K economy, a lot of the retail sales are coming from that. Everybody in this room, all the $100,000 plus. Yeah.
Hey John, Tom Hill, Waterbury. For the real estate people in the room, I know, like myself, you're a fan of the Wall Street Journal. I reported 2 weeks ago that the high-end office market is booming in New York City. Could you give us some take on what that'll do for Fairfield County and Connecticut? Thank you, nice to see you.
Yeah, and we'll see each other in December, I think. One of the questions that I have been getting an awful lot is whether, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be elected, Mayor Mondami is going to, cause everybody from New York to move to Fairfield County. I don't know. But there was an article, if you're in the real estate business, you probably saw it in the Wall Street Journal, that things are picking up in New York. And as a banker, I've been in banking my entire career. Banks, for the last couple of years, have been under a lot of pressure. Hey, wait a minute. You made a loan on this building. It was a $100 million building. It's now empty. You need to write it down to $20 million. So it's been put a lot of pressure on banks and commercial lending. we're finally starting to see that rebound. That businesses and some pretty creative real estate people have said, okay, how do we repurpose this building? So there's been a glut of supply on the market and a lot of smart people. I mean, look at what we're doing with the Trumbull Mall.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. Think about the Trumbull Mall, and it's now going to be an entire community. That's fantastic. Well, that took a lot of smart people to sit down and say, okay, we've got this great facility. How do we reuse it? So you're seeing that in New York. A lot of the buildings in New York, some of them are becoming apartments and condos. But when you think about it, you've got this huge floor plan for some of these big buildings in New York. And you've got a lot of interior space that you can't turn into living rooms. They can't all be dark with no windows. So not all of the buildings in New York are suitable for apartment conversions, but a lot of them are. But you've got a lot of smart real estate people that are saying, okay, what else can we do with this building? So it's great to see. You knew it was going to happen, and there are investment opportunities there.
If Arnold Peck was only 50 years younger.
Yeah. That's right. If Arnold Peck was a teenager, holy mackerel.
Yes.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? So maybe, do we have time for one last question?
One more.
Yeah, one more. Yes.
So you're talking about over time as Ron was replaced by machines. Have you thought through what sort of metrics would be helpful to see if brain power is increasing or being displaced as a result of AI?
Well, I will tell you, it's a great question. Is AI going to increase productivity, make us all better, or are we all basically going to be sitting home? And remember I mentioned Walmart earlier. So Walmart basically said they're the number one employer in the country. So you got to pay attention to Walmart. The CEO came out a few weeks ago and said, for the next 3 years, we're not adding anybody to our workforce. That was huge. They're a major employer. But what they said was, there is not one job in Walmart that won't be impacted by AI. So Walmart is basically saying, you may be a warehouse worker, you may be a checkout person, you may be somebody working in marketing. Every single job in Walmart is going to change. What they're saying is overall productivity for Walmart, because they want to keep seeing sales grow. So overall productivity for Walmart will increase, but you might not have the same job. They may say, you know what, we're able to automate the warehouse, so we're going to put that person in the store, we're going to do this. So they're saying the jobs will change, but every single job will be impacted. And what they're hoping is that there will be a change. I'm looking at my own job. What are the things that I do that really add a lot of value, and what are the things that I can hopefully offset? And that's what I'm hoping to do. So, Rena, I'll give it back to you. Thank you.
John, thank you so much. Fantastic. It's a lot of information, but really, really enlightening, and we really so much appreciate you here today with us, so thank you again. Before we transition to the next agenda item, and I call up a few folks, I just want to talk a little bit about the fact that we talked a lot about economic development, and we touched on some community development work, but we have two really spectacular community development efforts underway. One of them is, and I don't know if Ray Baldwin and Dan are still hovering around in the room, but is our Veterans and First Responder Center project that will serve, there's Dan in the back, will serve the whole region. And it will have expanded services for veterans, training for first responders, business meetings, and other things happening there. So in your package today, if you're interested in that project, and you want to make a contribution, naming rights, dedication plaques, that kind of thing, please join our effort and be a part of this. You can mark your family's history or involvement as a veteran or a first responder officially within the building, and it will help us to finalize the construction of the building. And I want to just shout out again to State Senator Sujata Gadkar Wilcox and the entire delegation, including Sarah Kidd, from Trumbull who have stepped in, worked with us, and we're nearing finalization of some additional funding, as First Selectman Tesoro alluded to, for that project. And we couldn't do it without you, and I know how many phone calls and how much pushing and meetings you guys have had to try to help us, and we appreciate it. So we can't wait for the ribbon cutting, hopefully next year. So I want to invite John Mayer up, a great friend of this community, and a new pal, so to speak, in another community development, historic preservation project. So John, I'm going to turn it over to you for a few minutes to get the community excited about this project.
Sure. Thank you, Rita. And John, thank you very much. When I came in earlier, I was milling around up front, and someone walked up and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, I'm so excited about your presentation. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it." And I'm like, wow. Wow. I didn't even know that I was barely on the agenda. And then someone else walked behind that person and said, "Oh, no, that's not him." So thank you. And I was excited to hear that you're part of the Fairfield Historical Society or Preservation. Hey, and just quickly before jumping, my family and my youngest daughter, we are contributing to the lack of growth in babies. My youngest daughter had her 5th baby 3 weeks ago, so we're doing our part. Our family's doing our part. Hey, we invited me literally just take a minute. We do have a chance. Some of you have seen the flyers and the brochures already. Some of you may have seen that we've a stand-up flyer in the back. The Upper Long Hill Schoolhouse has been encapsulated for 70-odd years under the clads of wood and paint that camouflaged it inside this house. We are in the process of looking to restore that. So we had the opportunity in this last spring, we uncovered the Upper Long Hill Schoolhouse. Upper Long Hill Schoolhouse, as you can see from your flyers, built in 1894, several connections with Trumbull, one of which we're all familiar with the Jane Ryan School. Most of us are not too familiar with Jane Ryan and what she did or where she taught. The Upper Long Hill Schoolhouse is actually where Jane Ryan started her career, and she taught there in the early years. We have photographs that you can look in back in your brochure, and it gives you just a feel for what that school meant to that community in the early days. The school is currently been taken apart. My wife, as I showed up on campus with the help of George and Dimitri and their crews, we literally disassembled what was left of the schoolhouse, stacked it on our property at CHS. My wife, what are you doing? As this pile of debris just emerges. I said, no, this is going to be really cool. It's going to be. She still looks at the pile of the debris. And we're looking and we're excited for the community to jump on board. And this next spring, this next summer, to rebuild and set that schoolhouse back up in its original form, quite possibly up at the town hall complex. You know, if you go to Booth Hill Park, you see one of the toll booths from Merritt Parkway. Some group had to have vision to preserve that and keep that part of Connecticut history alive. If you go past White Plains Roadhouse or White Plains where the school is, if you look where the commuter lot stands, there's a house next to the commuter lot that as you enter Trumbull. That was built in 1700. That almost came down. A group resurrected that, preserved that. We're looking to do the same with this schoolhouse. We feel that it's not just going to be a physical structure, it's a generational gift for years to come for our community. I'm a firm believer when it comes to education that as much as we can have it hands-on, as much as we can experience. We all know that screens have almost replaced books. we want, in this context, to be able to have something tangible for the town, where a student or the community can experience what schooling would have been like then. We have a Veterans Day program next week at our school. One of the things I work really hard to do is I want kids to be able to feel more what, for example, the cost of freedom. And so, some of you saw me when I came in, I rolled in a bicycle in the back, you'll see on the way out. And the reason I did, I wanted to drive home the point, we'll use that next week in our Veterans Day program. And it's, for many, it's just a bicycle. However, when you know the story of the bicycle, the fellow that got that as a 9-year-old kid went on later to serve in the U.S. Army and lost his life in Iraq. And I want my kids, kids can connect that's tangible. I can put on the screen in Iraq, so many people sacrificed their lives for the cause of preserving freedom around the world. I can say that. I can put a slide up. But when I have a kid physically look, hold, possibly sit on a bike, see the picture of the soldier when he was 9, that's different. That becomes something that this child can understand. We believe what makes the schoolhouse preservation worthwhile in so many ways is, one, having people be able to physically be in there. You can read about something, you can see it, pictures of it, but to experience it is different. So we're excited about putting that up there, and we're excited to get that project going. Thank you very much.
So if we have businesses, volunteer groups, so forth that are interested, construction people, union people, Mikey, I see you there, that are interested in donating money or manpower or women power to the event, volunteers, please get a hold of John and I. We expect to have to raise somewhere between 150, maybe 200,000 for the entire project, but it will be on the town hall campus. It will be open to the public. We believe this can be a real point of pride for the community going forward, and we hope that you, in small way or big way, get involved in this really important community development project. Now, I want to invite another friend of mine up, Terry O'Connor, who's here. You can't have a party without Terry, let's just face it. And without understanding, there's a lot of great things happening in our region, and I think music is one of them. So Terry just has a few words for us. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. So, if you've been to the Hartford Healthcare Amphitheater, raise your hand. If you have not been, raise your hand. Only a few. Well, you've missed the Foo Fighters and Rod Stewart and Jerry Seinfeld, Tedeschi Truck, Billy Strings, Willie Nelson. I could go on and on and on. We just ended our 5th year. Because this is economic, we are economically about $20 million a year for the greater Bridgeport community from the amphitheater. City of Bridgeport gets rent money. They also get part of the admissions tickets. Certainly, if you own a restaurant in Bridgeport, you'd like us to have 100 concerts a year. How tough is it to get a reservation in any one of the restaurants downtown when we have a concert going on? We also do a lot of things. We do things for recreation. We've had a lot of events for the community at the amphitheater. So we're part of this community. We invite you to be part of it. If you haven't been to a concert, year 6 will start in May. Don't tell me that you don't have time. It's 6 years from us. You gotta find time. You gotta laugh and enjoy. All right, music, you're right, Dan. Music is a great equalizer. When things aren't going well and you're not so happy, go listen to music, you'll feel better about it. If you're involved with us and you have tickets, either in one of our clubs, the Harbor Club seating, Jack Daniels. We have a brand new, the folks that have been there, you've seen our sky deck up on top on the right-hand side. That is a gorgeous place to watch a concert. I've been to a few concerts watching from the deck. If you're interested in partnering with us, if you want to talk about buying season seats in any capacity there, digital advertising, marketing, I'll be around after the breakfast. Come up and see me. I'll give you my card. Happy to send you all the information. Give you a tour of the amphitheater at some point. Is that my 2 minutes? I'm done. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Now, Not only does he do a great job for the amphitheater, but he's an iconic person himself in the greater Bridgeport community who's done so much. So Terry, we're always happy when you're in the house. We're going to close our program with our first selectman just to say goodbye to everyone. We just appreciate you so much. We need you, you need us. We're here to support one another and to continue to boost our local economy and our businesses. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for all you do to support us through the year. I'm always here, my door is always open. And now for closing words from the boss.
Thank you very much, Rita. I just want to say another thank you to John. Let's give him a round of applause for that great presentation. It's very informative, kind of scary in some places, but we appreciate you sharing your knowledge, your wealth of knowledge that you have. I just want to say that my husband and I have been married for 40 years. We've made some investments over time, bought a couple houses, some stocks and bonds. Our greatest investment has been in our two daughters, in their education of our two daughters, because they, and I don't like to talk about my kids too much, but they blow me away with the knowledge they have. I call them like every day, how do you do that? Because I've just, they're just miles ahead at their age than we were when we were in school. I'm sure everyone agrees with me. If you have kids in their 30s, it is just incredible. So it does give us, just, I guess, the thought of hope for the future. As bad as things could be, we have hope. So that's the important thing. And we have hope because of all of you in this room for the town of Trumbull, that you continue to invest with us, and we're here to support every single one of you. Thank you for coming today. Hope to see you again next year.
And just a special final thanks to some of the, I know Vicki mentioned the town staff, but we have some people here that never get accolades. Bill Mauer, our town engineer, and Tatiana, our deputy town engineer, our fire marshal, Megan, our building inspector, Bob Dunn, chief building official, Bob Dunn, Kevin Bova, our purchasing agent. I think he may have left by now. But just so many great people. Rob Labrandy is competing in a martial arts thing in Norway this weekend. He's leaving, so he's not here today. He's an internationally renowned martial artist, if you don't know. Oh, he is! Rob's here? My God, the champ is here. But I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Rob. And there's Kevin, too. So these are great human beings, and you hear a lot of criticism about how business-friendly during the election the town staff is. Look, nobody's perfect, but these folks go above and beyond every day to solve problems for our town and to be extremely business-friendly and compassionate and trying to understand that the bottom line is important to our businesses. I couldn't be any more prouder of the team than I am. They're great human beings, they're great people, and they're great professionals. So thank you for what you do every day. I want to specifically mention Gia Mantillo, who is my economic development assistant in the office. If you really want to renew your faith in the future of the world, spend some time with Gia, and now we've added Abby. Through Gia helped us find another new staff person. We've added Abby to our team. These are young, brilliant people. Their technology platform is exceptional, but their interpersonal skills and their community skills are exceptional too, and you don't hear that all the time. People are saying the opposite, but that's not been my experience. We're thrilled to have this talent team, and thank you for what you do every day. Thank you.